You've tuned in to the 49ers Rush podcast, and here is your host, John Chapman.
All right, 49ers fans, we have lost again to the Seahawks. We lose, man, it looks bad. Don't want to say it looked worse than it did. It looked pretty bad. 43-16 we lose, and we fall to 2-10. You know, we've lost a lot of games to the Seahawks, and I'm going to be going over offense production, drive charts, draft order, MVPs, all that kind of fun stuff. So we got a lot to get to today, but before we jump in, we need to kind of take a step back and look at the big picture. The big picture sucks. This will be, as of now, our fourth year finishing dead last in the NFC West, which is crazy. This year, you know, we were 2-10 at this point last year, but we had a little bit more hope. We won our first two games, and that was pretty exciting. We haven't won a road game. We're 0-7 on the road, and we only have one more road game left this year, and that's at Los Angeles Rams. So that's fun. Now, Seahawks, they've definitely had our number. This is our 9th straight regular season loss to this crappy team. Hate the Seahawks, but man, they destroyed us. So without further ado, a couple things I want to talk about as we jump into this. One, we did have a couple key injuries. Dakota Watson tore his calf pretty early on in the first quarter. He is on IR. He is done for the year. Tart hurt his shoulder again with a stinger, the same shoulder, and Breida hurt his calf again. His ankle. Sorry about that. Tweaked it during warm-ups, and they weren't quite sure what was going to go on. He goes out there for the first series, looked great, but then we didn't see him for another 3 series, and it was like, what's going on? He was just staying on the sidelines. He went out and tried to give it a go again a few times. He was just playing with one leg, which is bad. Matt Breida has fought very, very tough through this injury all year and just seems to just tough it out every week. And Kyle Shanahan has already come out and said Breida is out for Week 14. He is done. We're going to let him rest. We're going to try to let him heal, which is good. We're 2-10. Officially, we are out of the playoffs now. We still had a shot, but that is now over. And so that's kind of where we are. And it seems like the youth movement is in full swing. And we saw some good. We saw some bad. Obviously the offensive MVP is going to be Dante Pettis. Holy freaking cow. A lot of people were pretty pissed off whenever we traded up to get Dante Pettis. I was very, very high on him. I had him rated as my 3rd overall wide receiver in this draft class, and I love the kid. He was an absolute player, and man, he came out and he continues to show 2 games in a row. Now, he's still a rookie, and I totally understand that. He does make some stupid rookie mistakes, like on 3rd and 8 whenever he cuts the ball flat. Instead of getting the first down, he gets tackled half a yard short. We got to go for it on 4th down. We got it, thankfully. But, he makes a lot of dumb mistakes. We saw Shanahan just lay into him on the sideline last week, but he responded. And he comes out this week with 7 targets. Just wow. 5 receptions, 129 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And the 75-yard touchdown was huge. The 49ers' huge problem for the past few years has been scoring touchdowns. It's not enough to just get field goals or to have a lot of yards. We need finishers, and that's who this kid is. We go back to Dante Pettis when he was with the University of Washington. Just touchdowns galore. Over 30 touchdowns in his 4-year career there. Broke the record for most punt return touchdowns in the history of the NCAA. That's who he is. He is an amazing route runner that gets insane separation, and then once the ball is in his hand, he just does crazy things. He fell to the 2nd round, which he probably should have went late first, early second. We got him early second because he doesn't look the part. He's super small. He's skinny. He makes weird movements and bends in weird angles and all those things. But Dante Pettis is looking like he is going to be our number 1. And it's interesting because, with Pierre Garçon, Kyle Shanahan came out and said, if this game was of, importance, Pierre Garçon's good to go. He could play right now. With his knee and his neck issues, he could have played. But Pierre Garcon's really, really old. And so why rush somebody back whenever we're already out of it? We want to see what we got. And, Marquise Goodwin, who I just absolutely love, one of my favorite 49ers, he's got some personal issues going on, and it just kind of seems like they just said, take care of your stuff, get your mind right. We're not in a hurry. You've played through injuries. We appreciate everything you've done. Let's see what we got these young guys. We know who you are. Now, I'm thinking that Marquise Goodwin will be playing next week, and if that is the case, I'm very curious to see where they're going to put Pettis. I'm hoping they put Pettis where Kendrick Bourne is. I like Kendrick Bourne, but he is not a future star. Our 2 wide receiver sets should be Marquise Goodwin and Dante Pettis, and sprinkle in 3 wide receiver sets some Kendrick Bourne. And another interesting note, if we look at what's happened with Trent Taylor, Trent Taylor, his snap count is almost non-existent. He got 23 snaps, but those were all almost in the fourth quarter whenever we were just running 4 wide receiver sets or 5 wide receiver sets. Trent Taylor basically seems to have lost his slot job and just kind of come in on third downs whenever we need something. And I think that's going to be his role long term. I love me some Trent Taylor, but the dynamic is just not there. He's a third down conversion, goal line conversion guy, only in short yardage situations. If you need that slant route, that's kind of what he does. Now, this is where it gets bad. This is how we start the game on offense, okay? First drive punt, we get sacked on an overload blitz. Laken had a terrible game. Laken Tomlinson, absolutely awful. Gave up 2 sacks in this game. Second drive, punt. Zero respect for the deep pass. They're blitzing like crazy. It's just bad. Third drive, punt, 3 and out. Busted screen. Richburg, this was the Richburg drive. Downfield illegally, played, got a penalty there. Very next play, snaps it over the head of the quarterback by 10 yards. It's 3rd and 24. That's not going to work, so we punt 3 and out. Fourth drive, we drive all the way down. It looks like great things are about to happen, and then the Wilson fumble inside the 5-yard line. No clue. This got reviewed. No clue how they ruled this was a fumble. It just doesn't make sense. This is where Kyle Shanahan blew up. If you go over to my Twitter, I've got the video where you can see his mouth and all the things. Basically just said to the official, will you watch the F-word game? The ref turns, we can't see his mouth, says something to Kyle Shanahan. Then Kyle Shanahan turns back as he's walking away and just says, well, F you. He was pretty hot. And, it came out as well. We were on defense at this point, and this is the problem. Fred Warner's shoe came off, okay, during the play. And Russell Wilson grabs Fred Warner's shoe and throws it to the Seattle sideline. So now our Mike linebacker, captain of our defense, has no shoe, so he runs off. We don't get somebody on there fast enough, and basically we get a penalty, and then Kyle Shanahan loses his mind. Just bad call. And here's the thing, as long as our coaches, I love Kyle Shanahan for standing up, and I think that this is great whenever you have a team that's not really fighting for much, but it keeps those guys active. But the problem is when your head coach is chewing and cussing out the refs repeatedly, guess what? You're not going to get a lot of calls. It's just not how it works. You don't get to cuss out refs and get in their face and all these things and expect calls to start going your way. And so many calls did not go our way. Some of the worst pass interference calls I have ever seen. And, a lot of that has to do with our defensive coach, Robert Saleh, and what we teach our secondary. We don't teach them to play the ball unless they are in phase completely. And so we're going to get a lot of pass interference calls. It's a technique issue, and we just have not corrected it in 2 years. We thought it was just Rashard Robinson, but we got rid of him. Yeah, it's still happening at a record pace. And even good corners like Quan Williams, who hasn't had an issue with that, is now starting to have an issue because this is what we're teaching them. We're teaching them not to play the ball whatsoever, and that's just causing some major problems. So the Wilson fumble on the 4th drive, 5th drive, punt. So you talking about in our first 5 drives, we got 4 punts and a fumble inside the goal line. I don't care who you're playing. You're not winning that football game. It's already over at that point, unless you're wanting to win a 7-6 ball game. But let's be honest, that's not what our defense is. We've given up the third most points in the NFL, and we don't force any turnovers whatsoever. Another game with 0 turnovers forced. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sixth drive, we get a 45-yard field goal. It was awesome right before halftime. So, we got 3 points going into the half. We come out, and things look amazing. This is the first Pettis touchdown. Just looks absolutely incredible. The next one, we have to punt. A sack pushed us out of field goal range. And at this point, I'm thinking, all right, might be time to make a switch. Nick Mullins, it's just not looking right. They're not respecting him at all, and it's just looking bad. He comes back out. First play of the game, 75-yard touchdown strike to Dante Pettis, which was just the kid's special. I don't know what else to say. Now, then after that, we get going pretty good. We drive the whole field, and then we throw a pick six on an out route. So again, we have 2 turnovers inside the 5-yard line. You don't win games if you do that. And then the last drive, turnover on downs. And the crazy thing is, if we look at this stat line, Nick Mullins threw for over 400 yards, which is pretty insane. He had a 95.3 quarterback rating, which technically you should win with that. I understand that's garbage time. We were down so much, but again, 30 for 48, which is legit. 414 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That interception was huge. Sacked 3 times. But you know what? He played. We did not lose this game because of Nick Mullins. I'll be honest with you. We didn't win it because of him. That's for damn sure. Now, the running game was interesting. Breida, he went out early. He got 5 carries for 6 yards. That's it. His big play was in the passing game. He had 3 catches on 3 targets for 51 yards. How crazy is this? Matt Breida, his biggest flaw last year, I've talked about this, was about a 50% catch rate, which is terrible. This year, he's up over 80 now. And just balling out. If he can get healthy, I'm so excited to see. He's the perfect number 2 running back. We'll see what happens with Jet next year. But Matt Breida is here to stay. He ain't going anywhere, and he's super cheap as well. Jeff Wilson, man, the kid out of UNT comes out. He just ran hard. I love the way he runs. He is not a guy that takes a lot of missteps or cuts or jukes. He's just running as hard as he can, and if he gets to run through you, that's great. 15 carries, 61 yards, and it was all pretty. His longest run of the game was 11 yards. He is just a guy, he averaged 4.1 yards per carry, and that's about what he got. He was getting 4 to 5 yard chunks just throughout the entire game, and in the passing game, he had 9 targets. He led our team in targets. He tied with Kittle, and he caught 8 of those for 73 yards. So you're talking about a guy, undrafted free agent, which so is Breida, comes in, has over 130 scrimmage yards. That is just unreal. So the rushing, our yards per average wasn't great. But, again, not really why we lost. We lost because of turnovers, and we didn't cash it in whenever we were in the red zone. You go 1 for 4 in the red zone, that's not good, and 2 of those are turnovers. So you didn't even come away with field goals at that point. In fact, you had a negative ratio because you had a pick 6. Now, receiving-wise, we talked about Dante Pettis, 7 targets, 5 catches, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. After that, it gets bad. Kittle, 9 targets, he caught 6 for 70, and he could have had more. He really, really could have had more. He played so well. He's so tough, and he's fighting for everything. He almost had the touchdown. It just didn't pan out. Kendrick Bourne, he's a supplemental additional guy. He would be a perfect 4th wide receiver to come in on 3rd and short or on the goal line. His best attribute is blocking. I think, he's a big-bodied wide receiver. He had a decent game. He had 6 targets, 4 catches for 60 yards. He did drop 1 catch for a first down, which was a killer. Now, if we look at what I want to do now is I want to jump over to our defensive stats because I think this will help us understand where this game went wrong, and especially whenever we get into team stats. So this is the drive summary of our defense, okay? Right off the bat, we come out and play great. They punt. Run stuff by Eric Armstead. Eric Armstead played unreal. Now, his stats won't show that. That's not going to show up. That's not really who he is. He is a guy that plays perfect edge integrity and cuts off and shrinks the field to where the running back has to cut back or the quarterback has to throw the ball quicker. He's not a stat guy. He's a behind-the-scenes guy that holds things together. Eric Armstead has been one of the top 3 players on our defense all year. Now, our MVP goes to none other. Man, I love this guy, and I'm biased, okay? I absolutely love this guy, and that's DeForest Buckner. 7 total tackles, 2 sacks, 2 additional tackles for loss. This guy is just unreal. DeForest Buckner just continues to just be that guy. He's on his way to double-digit sacks. 9 sacks. Technically, I think he should have 9.5, but that's just me. He has just played awesome, and the runner-up is Fred Warner. 8 total sacks. Got a hit on the quarterback. Just played really, really well. And so, again, back to our drive summary. We hold the first drive, they punt. Second drive. Touchdown pass, it was kind of rough. We rushed 3 at Wilson whenever he was in the red zone. He had 6.5 seconds before he threw the ball. What the hell? One of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL, and you're just going to rush 3 guys. You can't allow somebody to have 6.5 seconds. I have no clue what the hell we are doing. But anyway, that's another story. Third drive, touchdown pass, 52-yard strike to Lockett. Again, defensive scheme breakdown. We have Malcolm Smith man-to-man with Tyler Lockett 50 yards downfield. 50 yards downfield, Malcolm Smith is there. And I understand in our, cover 3 system, the third wide receiver, if he crosses field, the Will or the Mike has to run with them based on the alignment of the running backs and how we're doing that. I get that. But we do have a free safety. And our free safety this game was Jaquiski Tart. Not a lot of great things from him. He played all right, got injured, came back, but it's Tart's going to be Tart. It's just what he's going to do. After that fourth drive, punt, played absolutely unreal defense there. That was great. Fifth drive, 3 and out in a punt. We got great. They had a holding call. We're pushed back, and this is just starting to look awesome. Things are starting to look good. How do we respond? Muff a punt. Richie James, we're going to have the best field position we've had all game. We muff it. Seattle gets it right back and scores a touchdown. And so these are the trademarks of young teams. Not capturing momentum and shooting yourselves in the foot. This was a huge, probably a 10-point swing right there. Right after that, touchdown to Baldwin. We get a ridiculous pass interference call by Quan Williams, puts the ball on the 1. We almost stopped them. We had 3 stuffs on the 1-yard line, and then they got in the goal line. Then it's halftime. They come out, touchdown run on a 1-play drive. Are you kidding me? This was after the huge kickoff return. Tart gets hurt. They run it back for 85 yards, and then the very first play, Marsh loses contain. Fred Warner takes a bad angle, and they just take it to the house in 1 play. 8th drive punt. Buckner got a sack to force it off the field. 9th drive touchdown pass to Brown. We go back to 0 pressure and bringing 3 down. Lineman again. He has 5+ seconds to throw the ball. Nobody got close to him. And then the 10th drive was a field goal. And then again, we got another sack there by Buckner and Blair. And that's going to kind of do it for the game. If we break down these team stats, it tells us a lot. One, we outgained them by 120 yards. We had 450 yards. Kyle Shanahan's always going to put up yards. This offense is functioning. The problem is it does not capitalize. This has been the theme for Kyle Shanahan everywhere he has been. Yardage-wise is legit. Now, the 1 year whenever he was in Atlanta, they were scoring touchdowns at a record pace, one of the top 5 scoring offenses of all time. It's just, we know he can put up yards. We know he can convert. It's just punching it in the end zone. So we've got to get the ball to the playmakers a little bit more. So we put up 450 yards. They had 330. We had that one big time. Yards per play, 6.1 for us, 6.8 for them. That's whatever. What's crazy is how efficient they were able to throw the ball. They only threw the ball 17 times. They completed 11 of those for 163 yards. That's not acceptable. We threw 1 interception. Both teams had 3 sacks, but we lost the turnover ratio by 0-3. You don't win games like that. Red zones. Red zone attempts, 1 for 4. They were 3 for 4. You don't win games like that. That's kind of who we are as a team. It's sacks. Let me start that over. Turnovers, sacks, red zone percentage. How often are we getting points when we get into the red zone? We got into the red zone the exact same amount of them, but we don't cash in. You add on to that 3 turnovers, which they got points on all 3 of those turnovers, and that's your ball game right there. We have to capitalize. Now, if we take a step back and look at where we are for the year, it's not much better. The NFL, this is the worst, I think, stat for the 49ers in this entire year. If you look at the entire NFL and team turnovers, okay, the 49ers are dead last. It's not even close. We only have 2 interceptions. The next worst team has 5. 5 interceptions. You're not going to win games whenever you cannot turn the ball over. You just cannot do it. Now, if we look at fumble recoveries, we only have 3 fumble recoveries. That's second to last in the NFL. So we have 5 turnovers forced. That is, you just cannot win games like that. The next closest to us, we're sitting at 5. The next closest to us is 8. The Philadelphia Eagles, which they played 1 less game, they're playing right now as I'm recording this. Then it jumps up to 12. Then it jumps up to 13, 15, 18. I mean, it's absolutely just bananas. Teams with 27-plus turnovers, we're sitting here with 5. There's a reason why we are losing, and it is our defense. The offense, while I understand the points and whatever else, they're not up there. The reason why we continue to lose is our defense. Now what I want to do is just take a real quick break before I talk about the draft and just say our sponsors are absolutely incredible. Game Day Sports and Memorabilia. It's Christmas time, folks. There's nothing better than getting your family 49ers gear, or if they're another fan or whatever. I'm in a white Santa or whatever it's called, gift exchange with family members I don't like, and they are Patriots fans. This should tell you about how bad of people they are, plus family members. It's what it is. I got to pick something out for this guy that's a Patriots fan. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get him some memorabilia over at Game Day Sports Memorabilia. I'm going to buy an air pump. I'm going to stick that in there and hand it to him just so I can say, here's your fan stuff, whatever, and just a little jab at how you cheat at everything. So Game Day Sports Memorabilia, head over there. They have everything for all sports, anything you need, helmets, jerseys, posters, cards, all kinds of stuff. They are unreal. They support us greatly, and we just want to say thank you to them. So head over there and let them know that the 49ers Rush podcast sent you. Now, what I want to do is talk about the draft because it's officially here. We are out of the playoffs, and good news is this. A lot of teams won this week that should have been picking in the top 10. And what this means for us is it continues to kind of lock those top spots for us, even if we do win some games. So as of right now, we are definitely the overall number 1 seed. If we lose out, we've got the number 1 seed because, again, it goes by records, the most important, and then strength of schedule, and it's inverse. So the team with the easiest schedule, they get the better picks. Our schedule's trash. We have a very easy schedule. The Raiders will not surpass us in this, and it won't even be close. So as of now, us and the Raiders are the only teams with 2 wins. If we lose out, we get number 1 pick. We're getting Nick Bosa. And yes, we will pick Nick Bosa. No, we will not trade out. No, we're not going corner. We are going Nick Bosa. I'm telling you right now, just lock it in. I'm putting my Vegas bets in already. If we get that number 1 overall pick, it's happening, Nick Bosa. Now, let's say hypothetically we win 1 game. That will push us to 3 wins. And the worst case that could happen if we win 1 of our remaining games, we would be picking 3rd. Because the only team in the top 10, really the only team in the top 15, but let's be honest, we're not going that far, that will beat us in strength of schedule is the Jets, okay? The New York Jets and the New York Giants are the only teams that are even close to that, but it's looking like the Jets might pass us. The Giants went and won this week, so they kind of eliminated them from our conversation there. But really, if we win 1 game, the worst case scenario is we are picking 3rd. If we win 2 games, which would put us to 4 wins, the worst we could pick would be probably 5 or 6. So as of now, after week 13 is in the books for us, the absolute highest pick that we could have is a top 6 pick. But in all reality, it's going to be a top 3 pick. We should be, the odds-on favorite. Basically, it would be a 50%. We've got the first overall pick. 30% we're picking third because I think the Jets would pass us in strength of schedule. They have an easier schedule than us. And then a 20% chance we are picking second. Now, update just on our schedule and what we have left. It's not too bad, to be honest with you. It really isn't. So our games, this is inverse conversation, right, as far as winning one. We have 3 home games. We have the Broncos, Seahawks again, and then the Bears. And then we finish up the year at the Rams. So we've got 4 games, all of which are looking like could be possible playoff teams. The Bears are playing legit football and winning with backup quarterbacks. But whenever we look at what the Broncos are doing, the Broncos are kind of turning it on. They're 6-6. They got an outside shot of the playoffs. And then, of course, the Rams. Now, if we look at Oakland, if they win one game, we're basically a lock in it. They have the Steelers at the Bengals, which might be a winnable game. Broncos, then Chiefs. So they don't have a very good, very winnable schedule either. And so that's kind of where we are. So stay tuned. I'll have a lot more stuff. Please follow me on Twitter at JL_Chapman. If you have any questions, please hit me up there at JL_CHAPMAN. Stay strong, faithful. It's going to get better.